The 49ers won their 10th in a row, and it's on to the playoffs. We're going to talk about it all next on the Instant Reaction Show with Jack Hammer. Hey everybody, it's Jack Hammer here from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, where the 49ers blasted the Arizona Cardinals today by a score of 38-13. The 49ers have taken on the Cardinals twice this year, scored 38 points both times, by holding them to 10 points in the first game and then 13 here today. Just again, a terrific game from the 49ers. We don't know yet exactly who they're going to play in the first round of the playoffs next week here at Levi Stadium, but we'll be finding that out shortly. It's going to come down to either the Packers or the Seattle Seahawks. The Packers taking on the Detroit Lions right now. The Lions were eliminated just a short while ago when the Seahawks kicked the field goal in overtime to defeat the Rams up in Seattle. So we'll see what goes on from there. But let's go ahead and let's get into this. Big win for the 49ers, like I said. Just want to shout out a few folks over in the comment section. We have MG, who says that if the Niners get to the Super Bowl, that's going to be awesome. We have Lucas Pesci. Lucas, a member of the Toolbox, says, "Hi, Jack. Good to have you on board, Lucas. Hope you're doing well." And then we also have Moonman, who says, "Jack, what's up? What's up, man? Lenore was bad again." Was he bad? He made one mistake. We'll get to all that in a minute, and we'll definitely come back to your question, Moonman. You go back through this game, and as I said to start the show off, they blasted them 38-13 with the victory. San Francisco locked up the second seed in the NFC. We'll see soon who they're going to be playing. And then after that game is over with, we'll get an idea. We'll get the schedule and then exactly when that game is going to take place here next week. Arizona, though, when you go back to this game, they struck first when David Blau hit A.J. Green with a 77-yard touchdown strike on the second play of the game. A little flea flicker, roll out to the right, get it back to the quarterback. He throws it deep down to Green for the touchdown over Diamador Lenore. Lenore roasted by 49er fans last week for a tough performance against the Las Vegas Raiders, in particular against Devontae Adams. So we'll talk a little bit about David Blau's performance and also Diamador Lenore's in a minute. After that, though, San Francisco responded right back. 6 plays, 75 yards, right down the field, methodical. Took the lead on a touchdown pass from Brock Purdy to Christian McCaffrey, a little screen out to the right that Purdy took 21 yards into the end zone. And despite some uneven play from the 49ers offense over the next few possessions, they'd hold on to the lead the rest of the way. They'd never give it up. 3 forced turnovers by the defense helped 49ers turn what was a close 14-3 game in the second quarter into a rout by the end of the third. So with that as kind of a backdrop, let's get into the 5 questions that I asked prior to the game, how those played out. I'll also be going through and answering any questions that you have. We have Daryl Granville, a member of the Toolbox. So thank you for the super chat. He says, "It's hammer time, baby. Thanks for the stream." Thank you, Daryl, for tuning in. I appreciate it, and I also appreciate your super chat. We got Luke Walsh in the house. Luke always reads us over at the Press Democrat. He says, "Hello, Jack. Good to have you on board, Luke." Niner Gang Wolfcast with he's ready to go. I agree with you on this one, Luke. As far as the wild card game, that's going to be announced after the game. This game that's coming up. I think it has part of what they're waiting to find out is who are the 49ers going to play, because I think if the 49ers are matched up against the Green Bay Packers, that's going to change things around a little bit, because 49ers Packers is a much more attractive matchup than 49ers Seahawks. So we'll get the wild card game date and time later on. And I agree with you. I'm hoping it's not the Monday game. Hopefully it is the Sunday afternoon game. That would be the perfect time slot, I think, for the 49ers. But we'll see as that goes. Alan Elizer comes in. He says, "Jack Hammer, today was a great game by one and all. Debo, like that like button." Very much so. Please hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Would appreciate both of those. And then we have Ken Fashion Journey says, "Hi, Jack, and all running in. It's been more than 20 years since I experienced a 10-game winning streak by the Niners." Yes, the last 10-game winning streak by the 49ers was in 1997. We don't want to talk about how that season ended just yet, but let's just say it didn't end up the way that 49er fans would have hoped. So we'll see how this season turns out for the 49ers. They're going to have to win 14 in a row if they're going to get to the Super Bowl and win that game. 10 in a row during the regular season here. They're now going to have to win 3 games to get to the Super Bowl, and they're going to have to win the 4th once they get there as well. So it's definitely going to be a tough journey for the 49ers if they're going to get the Super Bowl and win it. But we'll see how that all plays out over the next few weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun as we watch this all unfold. Going back to the questions that I had for today, and the first one was, will the 49ers defense struggle against another unknown quarterback? And, it looked like it was going to be another long day for the 49ers defense early on. Like I mentioned already, Blau connected with A.J. Green for that 77-yard touchdown. But from that point on, the 49ers defense did a really solid job. They allowed only 100 yards over the next 44 minutes. The touchdown pass came with about 45 seconds gone in the game. So the next 44 minutes and 15 seconds, the 49ers secondary allowed only 100 yards passing to Blau. Not all that great. Had the mention earlier on Diamond Lenore and the yes, that was a bad play on his part. He responded well though after that, and the 49ers secondary as a whole responded well from that point on, and the 49ers defense as well. Like I said, they responded so well, in fact, that they would force Blau to throw a pair of interceptions and fumble the ball away after a sack by Jordan Willis. Those 3 turnovers by Blau leading to 17 points for the 49ers. And Blau ended up getting removed from the game following the fumble due to a concussion, but he wasn't playing well at that point anyway. So you could have just as easily seen the Cardinals making the move off of Blau to their 4th quarterback, their backup Trace McSorley, who did come in the game for the 4th quarter. You go back over these last 3 weeks, and the 49ers have given up a lot of yards to quarterbacks that they've been facing, whether it be Washington a couple of weeks ago, last week against the Raiders to Jarrett Stidham, today to David Blau early on. At the end of the day, though, they played really well, and they forced a lot of turnovers. And so, yes, they gave up a lot of yardage, but at the same time, they forced a number of turnovers from those quarterbacks, which led to 29 points. So a lot of yards for the offense, not a lot of points, only 13 today for Arizona. It was more last week, 34 the week before to Las Vegas, but against Washington here at Levi Stadium, it was only 20. So you look at that whole thing, and the fact that they scored 29 points off of turnovers, that I think should be the big takeaway here, because that's complementary football at its finest. The offense doing its part at times, the defense doing its part at times, special teams even kicking in every once in a while. The 49ers as a whole playing very good as a team over these last few weeks, and we're going to see, like I said, how this plays out. Black 59 Razor says, is the audio weird or is it me? It might be a little weird. It sounded a little bad. They're actually working on the field right now behind me, so you might hear what sounds like an airplane taking off behind me. So I apologize there. I'll go through this quickly. We'll be coming back to this over the next couple of days as well. So let me go through the questions. I'll definitely answer your questions. I'll go through mine as well. It's not the headphones. It's behind me. You might be able to see, but right around the 35-yard line, the 49ers have their blowers going, blowing off it's part of their process that they go through to clean the field and get it ready to for next week and those types of things. So it usually you don't hear that because it usually takes me a little bit longer to get my write-up and everything done. Was able to get that done a little bit earlier tonight because of the blowout victory. Question number 2 was, would it be a record-setting day for Nick Bosa? The answer to that is no, unfortunately. But Bosa was able to get to the quarterback one time before being taken out of the game following the 3rd quarter. Despite missing the record, Bosa finishes the regular season with a career-high 18.5 sacks and 48 quarterback hits. So he falls a little bit short of becoming the second defensive player to get 50 quarterback hits since 2006. That was one of the other goals for Bosa today. But he comes up still with a sack and finishes the season with 48 hits. So career high 18.5 sacks for Bosa, 48 quarterback hits, a pretty good season that should get him Defensive Player of the Year honors, I think. One other thing that I want to note while we're talking about defensive linemen is Samson Ebicom. Samson Ebicom, since joining the 49ers last season, he had 4.5 sacks. The 2 years prior as a member of the Los Angeles Rams, he had 4.5 sacks on there. So one of his goals coming into this year was to break break through that 4.5 sack mark, get a career high, and he was able to do that. Ebicom and Charles Omenihu teaming up to take Blau down to end the Cardinals' second offensive possession. So Ebicom will finish this season with a career high 5 sacks. So all in all, really good. And then also, we got to mention, I already mentioned it up there when we were talking about David Blau, the Jordan Willis. Come on, Jack, learn how to speak. The Jordan Willis sack on Blau that was a forced fumble that was recovered by Michael Dwumfor, a player that the 49ers recently picked up off of the waiver wire and added to their active roster. He's the one that came up with that recovery. But Jordan Willis has been a big piece of this 49ers defense this year since coming back from injury. Solid rotational piece, a really good defensive end coming on. Like I said, as a rotational player, the 49ers can take their starting defensive line off the field and still put a lot of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They've done that a number of times. So, you look at today's game, and one of the big pieces with today's game was trying to limit the amount of exposure for the starters, and the 49ers were able to do that over the last couple of weeks. Take Nick Bosa and that starting defensive line unit off the field for stretches and let their backups go with it, and that kind of thing. So that's been a big part of it there, and it's been a positive. Okay, so you guys are saying it's not a leaf blower sound; it's a clicking static noise. Well, let me take these off. There we go. So hopefully that's better. Hopefully now you're not hearing the clicking noise any longer. Lucas wanted to ask me, he's a member of the Toolbox, so as a member, you always get your questions asked. He wants to know how concerned I am with the defense against better offenses. There's definitely a concern. I think for myself, when I look at this defense against the teams that they're going to have to play against, there is some concern. Overall, I think this defense is going to be able to do just fine. They've gone out and they've held everybody they've played this year for the most part under 20 points. You look at it, and they had a stretch there early on against Atlanta, and then the following week against Kansas City. Against Atlanta, they gave up 21 points, and we know what happened the next week. It was 42 to the Chiefs. Following that Chiefs blowout, though, there was a long stretch of games for the 49ers where they did not give up over 17 points. Then they come back here against Washington 2 weeks ago. They give up 20. Against the Raiders last week, it's 34. And what do you know? They come back today, and it's 13. There is a possibility that I think we see this defense start to go on another run. The biggest thing for this 49ers team and this defense is for their offense not to turn the ball over. If the 49ers offense doesn't turn the ball over, I think they're going to be a very tough team to beat because the defense is going to give up yards at points. Now, remember, the 49ers defense, not only are they one of the best in terms of points given up, they actually finished the season with the number 1 point differential. The 49ers gave up the fewest yards as well. So they're going to give up some plays. They're going to give up stuff. Usually they don't give up the big touchdown, though. Usually they might give up a big player here or there, but usually like plays like today, the 77-yard touchdown at the beginning, that's not a normal thing for them. So I think this 49ers defense is going to be just fine. We'll get into a little bit more on that. It just really depends on the matchup. That's the other piece. Green Bay is going to be a tough matchup for them, I think. Just because of all the different things that they can do. And I think that defense has gotten a little bit better. So we'll see how it works out. I think there's definitely some tough matchups. A couple weeks ago, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said I said that I expect the 49ers to be able to get, go through a deep run in the playoffs because of the quarterbacks they're going to face. The only 2 quarterbacks really that they're going to take on, I would say of the quarterbacks that I would be maybe a little cautious of, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Jalen Hurts can do some things with his legs that are a little bit different than everybody else. Beyond that, I think the 49ers have a pretty good matchup against everyone. that they're going to play. It's just it's a lot of things other than just quarterback too. So we'll see. But I feel really good about this team. I think they're going to have a good shot at making a deep run into the playoffs. I think we're going to see them playing into late January. And who knows, that last game of the playoffs might even be here in the NFC Championship game, depending on what happens with Philadelphia. If not, we'll be going out to Philly for the NFC Championship game. Thank you for your question, Lucas. Going back to the burning questions that I had, number 3 was, can Brock Purdy finish strong? And yeah, it was a strong performance from Brock Purdy today. It was a little up and down, a little rocky, like the rest of the offense was there for a few series after that opening possession. But you go back to it, he finishes his day-to-day 15 of 20, 178 yards passing, a career high 3 touchdown passes. He's now thrown at least 2 touchdown passes, 6 weeks in a row. He's got a little bit of work to do to catch up to Jeff Garcia, who had the 9 back in 2001, I believe it was. That's the last time a 49ers quarterback has gone on a run like this. But he's playing at a very high level. Like I said, there were some ups and downs, but he opened the game up strong. First 3 attempts, he hit all of them, 53 yards, finished it off with that 21-yard screen to Christian McCaffrey that he took in for a score. On that drive, he also hit Kyle Juszczyk over the middle for a 26-yard gain. And then he finishes the game off with a couple of touchdown passes to George Kittle. He had one to Kittle right at the end of I believe it was at the end of the first half, towards the end of the first half, to make it 21-13, and then he finished the scoring off today with a connection to Kittle from the yard out. That's 7 touchdowns between Kittle and Purdy over the last 4 weeks. Those two are really connecting at a high level. So it's been really good to see that whole thing. And going back to the connection that he had with Kyle Juszczyk, that was a really interesting one. The 49ers are in 21 personnel, so that means they have 2 backs, 1 tight end on the field. But because of Kyle Juszczyk being out there with, and then they also had both Deebo back because Deebo Samuel was healthy today, and Christian McCaffrey. All those guys are on the field. They actually have a lineup in which Juszczyk's lined up as a secondary, like a second tight end kind of thing. They motion McCaffrey out of the backfield. They move Deebo into the backfield, and then they hit Juszczyk over the middle, totally uncovered, just a total coverage bust because of all the things that are going on and the way you've got to try to match up with this team. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this works out going into the postseason, because they have a lot of different weapons. I think Kyle Shanahan just needs to get into a rhythm with those guys, and I think it's going to be a really interesting second half. Just looking through some of the questions. SK510H or 10. He says, offensive line is oppressed all season. Additionally, no longer scared if our D gives up a score. We can now play from behind as a pass. Play from behind, whereas before it was a death sentence. And they can. And a lot of that has to do with Christian McCaffrey. The offensive line struggled a little bit today, gave up 4 sacks. Overall, though, they're playing at a decent rate, but they've got to get better at the sacks. They've given up a number of hits on the quarterback and sacks over these last couple weeks. I'd like to see that offensive line get back to where they were before just a few weeks ago. Jason Walker says, Sup, Jason? Good to see you. We'll see how this thing goes as far as the Packers and that going on. The other question that I had coming into this game was, can Brandon Aiyuk get to 44 yards? Can he get 44 yards receiving at least? And the answer was absolutely yes. Aiyuk came into this game. The reason that it was 44 yards is because that's what he needed to reach 1,000. He'd never done that in his career before. Aiyuk finished the first half with 3 catches for 39 yards. And then the first play of the second half, it's like they talked about it in the locker room and they knew they wanted to get him that number. The opening play of the second half, Purdy goes play action, hits Aiyuk cross over the middle for 20 yards, giving the third-year wide receiver 1,015 receiving yards on the season. His 59 yards today has led all 49ers receivers. So, it's just been a solid season all around for Brandon Aiyuk. In addition to going over 1,000 yards for the first time in his career, he had a career-high 8 touchdown catches as well. So a really solid season for Brandon Aiyuk. It was good to see him get over 1,000 yards. He said after the game that it was extremely important to him to get over that total, to be able to hit that century mark. It was a goal of his. So a shout out to Brandon Aiyuk being able to hit a career high today in terms of touchdown receptions as well. You look through the numbers for the pointers today, and it was four catches for 59 yards for Aiyuk. You had 4 for 29 for Kittle and a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey with 3 catches for 34 and a touchdown. We already talked about Juszczyk. Deebo Samuel made his return. He had a couple, and Juwan Jennings with 1. The last question was, how long are the starters going to play? The answer to that was about 3 quarters. With only 46 players active on game day, it's tough to pull all of the starters out, but the 49ers were able to pull a number of them off the field after the third quarter. That's what happens when you're up 38-13. Go back to this game, though, getting his first game action since November 27th. Elijah Mitchell made his return. The running back, second-year back, was able to finish as the 49ers leading rusher with 55 yards on 5 carries and a pair of touchdown runs from the 5-yard line and in. A couple of short scores there, really good strong runs over the left guard. Mitchell's longest run of the day was a 37-yard burst around the right side, which is actually a screen. It was a screen pass from Brock Purdy, but because the pass went backwards, it's ruled a run, and that was the 37-yarder, and that's why Mitchell finishes today as the 49ers leading rusher. Deebo Samuel made his return to action as well. His first game back since injuring himself late in the second quarter against Tampa Bay here at Levi's on December 11th. He had 2 catches for 20 yards, his first catch coming on a screen, and then he had a 1 carry for 4 yards. So it was good to see Deebo Samuel get back into the flow of the game. His presence on the field still forces defenses to react to him, which opens up other players. And it's really tough when you've got Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, Brandon Aiyuk, and a quarterback that's not screwing it up. And this 49ers offense is really humming at a pretty high level. Now the offensive line, like I said, just needs to get back to that pass protection mode that they were on earlier in the year. Just struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks. Need to get back into a rhythm there. Christian McCaffrey had been questionable all week coming into this game. He finished with 79 yards and a receiving touchdown on 13 total touches. McCaffrey's been, I think, the 49ers' most valuable offensive player since the trade that went down. They haven't lost since he moved into the starting lineup. Their only loss with McCaffrey was the game against Kansas City when he wasn't fully integrated into the offense at that point. So, but ever since he's gotten fully into the rhythm, and he made his first start for the 49ers against the Rams down at Los Angeles, he has been extremely good, and the 49ers offense as a whole has been very good. So really good news for the 49ers. Like I said, they finished the season off 13-4, which just happens to be the number that I had predicted for them. When the schedule was first announced back in May, I went through it. I said the 49ers would finish off with a record of 13-4. They didn't get there the way that they didn't follow the roadmap that I thought would get them to 13-4, but they got it. 13-4, number 2 seed. They'll be playing, if they can make it through the first week of the playoffs, they'll play week 2 here as well. So they've got at least 2 games here at Levi Stadium, depending on how things go. If they can win next week, they'll be here again for the divisional round of the playoffs. And the Village Idiot's asking who are the 49ers playing next week. They don't know that yet. Depends on what happens out in Green Bay. The Packers taking on the Detroit Lions. It's either going to be the Seahawks or the Packers. The Packers win earlier today, knocked the Lions out of the playoffs, and so that means that it depends. So if Green Bay wins, it's going to be the Packers, and right now, like Jacob Gordon says, it's most likely going to be the Packers, but we'll see how this thing plays out for the 49ers. Let's see. Black 59 Razor says Jimmy G should start as soon as he's healthy. I disagree with this. The 49ers are in a good spot with the quarterback that they have right now in Brock Purdy and what he can do. I think it would be better for the 49ers to continue rolling with Brock Purdy if Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy and is available around the time of the NFC Championship game. You bring him back as the starter, as a backup. Excuse me, that was a bad slip right there. If Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy, he is the backup to Brock Purdy. You don't bring him in and change this. I think it's similar to the 49ers should handle this similar to what Bill Belichick did back in 2001 with Tom Brady. You got to remember, Tom Brady took over for Drew Bledsoe earlier in the season when Bledsoe went down with an injury. Bledsoe eventually came back. They stuck with Bledsoe or with Brady. And then in the AFC Championship game, Brady went down late in the second quarter of that AFC Championship game. Bledsoe came on, helped them win that game over Pittsburgh and go to the Super Bowl. And I think that's where they are right now in terms of the 49ers. This is Brock Purdy's team going forward. And I think we need to see how that plays out. And it's Purdy's team. If something happens to him, hopefully you have Jimmy Garoppolo there to come off the bench. It just helps a little bit. Josh Johnson has proven over the course of his long NFL career to be a solid number 2 or number 3 type of a quarterback. But if you can get Jimmy Garoppolo back as that guy, that's the direction that you want to go. Lucas Pesci comes in. He says, Jack, what are your thoughts on Spencer Burford? I said it during the game. I tweeted out during the game. I stick by it. I think that Burford has struggled. One of the things that we've seen with Burford is he was rotating a lot with Daniel Brunskill at right guard. You have Brunskill and him doing a rotation. The injury to Aaron Banks means Daniel Brunskill is now your starter at left guard, so you're not able to have that right guard rotation, and so you're seeing Burford struggle. I don't know if I'd even say he's necessarily struggling more. It's just that he's getting more snaps, so you're seeing some more things come from that way. He is a rookie who has stepped in, and he has been in the starting lineup from day one. That is a big positive. Eventually, I think he is going to be a cornerstone offensive lineman for this team. However, as a rookie, he has his ups and downs, as all rookies do. All rookies have some ups; they all have some downs. So, so to say that Spencer Burford is a bad player or something like that, no. But saying that he struggles at times, I think is an accurate statement, given what you see on the field. Now, I'm not in the meeting room. I don't know all of the protection schemes. I don't try to act like I do. I'm just basing it off of what I see on the field and the times when he does get beat. And we'll see how it goes moving forward. J.J. Watt had a couple of sacks today, not all on Spencer Burford. One of them came against Burford. The other one was a kind of a split between Burford. He split Burford and Mike McGlinchey for another one. So that was, a second sack. So we'll see where it goes. Jason Walker says Mike McGlinchey needs to go in the offseason, that he's horrible. Yeah, okay. I mean, Nick Bosa came up to the podium and talked about how he believes that he feels like Mike McGlinchey has stepped up this game and is playing maybe the best football of his career since Nick Bosa got here. I think that Mike McGlinchey is far from horrible. I think he is one of the better tackles in the he's one of the better right tackles in the league. And Mike McGlinchey is the Jimmy Garoppolo of offensive linemen, meaning that it's 49er fans in general. There is a amount of familiarity breeds contempt with players. You'll see that happen. The more certain players are around, the longer they're here, the more people are going to start to pick at them. And that's kind of where Mike McGlinchey is. He's been a guy that's always, when he struggled, he's an easy guy to take shots at. And it is what he is. Now, did he get owned today? He might have got beat a couple of times. We'll see. I got to go back. We'll look at the film. That's going to be one of the fun things hopefully for all of you that watch the show or watching now. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, do subscribe. Every Tuesday we do a film breakdown. Go through it, show you all of the every play on the offensive side of the ball. Try to do the best I can as far as pointing everything out that I can see. And that'll be something that we'll go through on Tuesday. So, well, since I just asked you guys to subscribe, please make sure you hit that like button as well. The more likes that these get, the better it is for us, because the more it gets pushed out to other viewers as suggestions. So, here's the big thing: the 49ers finished the season 13-4. The second 13-win season under Kyle Shanahan as the head coach of the 49ers. They're going to be going to the playoffs for the third time in 6 years under Kyle Shanahan. And we'll find out over the next month where this team is. And it starts next week with whoever they play in round one of the playoffs. We're going to find out how good this team is. Are they the second best team in the NFC? Are they the best team in the NFC? Do they get bounced by the 7th seed next week? We're going to find all of that out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And Jacob Gordon says, who knows? Purdy may get better as the pressure ratchets up with each win from here on out. And you're right. Who knows? And that's one of the things that I do when I have my opinions. I give you my opinions. I usually don't give you opinions where I say this guy stinks, that guy stinks, this guy's awful, this is whatever. I try to let the players write the story as much as I can. I think that it's going to be interesting to watch Brock Purdy play in these over the playoffs. One of the things that he's done very well, he only has 4 interceptions so far. You go through his interceptions, he had the 1 interception here against Miami, which is kind of like a punt on a 4th down. Another interception was a ball that bounces off the hands of Jawan Jennings, a little bit behind him, but it bounces off of his hands, and that's interception number 2. And then, he really has only 1 bad interception so far. So you go through it. I think Brock Purdy's playing at a decent level. The big thing with Brock Purdy going into the playoffs is just don't turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. Play within the system. Make some plays with your legs. Trust your eyes. Trust your teammates. And go out and play. And I don't think he's going to let the pressure be too much for him. Remember, Brock Purdy, this is the guy who, when he was at Iowa State, he took Iowa State into the Fiesta Bowl and beat Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl. So I think Brock Purdy is ready for this moment. And we're going to find out. We're going to find out if Brock Purdy and the rest of this 49ers team is ready for what's ahead of them, because they need to go through now and they need to win 4 games in a row. They need to finish this season off on a 14-game win streak if they're going to hoist the Lombardi Trophy at the end of it. So we'll see how it goes. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this tonight. If you are not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, please. Hit that like button as well. If you hit that subscribe button, also hit the little notification. That little notification button allows you to know every time we go live so you don't miss anything. So thank you all for following me along all season. Playoffs are coming. This is going to be the most exciting time of the year. Hopefully you're ready for it, because I know I am. I will be back tomorrow with more 49ers content. I will be back tomorrow night with the Hammerhead Show with Rob Shue. And we'll have all kinds of stuff going on this week. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We will know who the 49ers play in about 2 hours from now, maybe an hour and a half. We'll know who the 49ers opponent is going to be in round 1, and we will know when that game is taking place. Take care, everybody. SK510. Hit me back tomorrow with that question. It's a great one. Have a great Sunday, everybody. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.